Unity, a game engine that, since the release of version 6, there is no longer any reason not to use it. And the truth is, it has everything. That you want to make a multiplayer game, you can. That you want it to be more optimal, you use ESS or jobs. That you want to release it for all existing platforms, you can too. And I can assure you that I have not been paid to say any of this, but I truly think so. Unity is a technical marvel. Obviously, not everything is perfect, and even less so lately with the whole issue of fees, which fortunately they ended up backing down on. Now, with the release of Unity 6, there is no better time to try it. Both for beginners and experts. I am currently using Unity myself to develop my first big game, Speed Rivals. Like Scalextric but digital, and with a ton of game modes to fully enjoy the experience I want to bring. It will also feature something that I think is practically mandatory for a game of this style, and that is local multiplayer without ruling out an online mode if the game performs as I hope. In addition to all that, the game will have a track editor that I think could be top. And, well, if you're interested in the premise, do not hesitate to add it to your wish list. It really helps me a lot. If you want to stay up to date with the development, you can follow me on my social media, especially on Twitter, and join the Discord channel, where you can ask me whatever you want or talk about many other topics like motorsport or game dev. After this brief mention of the video game I'm developing, we continue with the installation. Well, installing Unity is very simple. First, we go to the Unity website, link in the description. We click the download button. We click this download button again. And we already have the installer downloaded. And this will download Unity Hub, which is the Unity version manager, so to speak. This will help us keep track of all the versions we want. Now we go to the Downloads folder, run the file it left us, grant all permissions, and continue with the installation. Now this process is the typical one in any program installation. Just follow my steps and choose the installation path that suits you best, although I recommend leaving the default one. Well, now in this case, we leave the checkbox marked so that it runs upon completion. As you can see, we now have Unity Hub, the Unity version manager. To access Unity Hub, we first need an account. So we click on Sign In. This will take us to a page where we will have to sign up. Now it's very easy. If we already have a previous Unity account, perfect, we log in and everything is ready. If we don't have one, we simply click on Create One. And here we can create our new Unity account. Once we have it, we sign up and continue with the process. Perfect. And once we have logged in, we return to Unity Hub. Now on this screen, as you can see, it asks us to install our first version. Since to use Unity, at least one version must be installed, and in this case, the recommendation is always to install the most recent version, which right now is version 6000.0.39. If you also notice, there is an LTS mark, which tells us that this version is not beta, and everything is tested and mostly error-free. So, I always recommend installing an LTS version. Regarding the path, you can choose whichever you want, although I recommend the default one. If possible, install it on the disk where the operating system is located, as in most cases, it is the fastest disk. And consequently, Unity will run and work better and faster. We then continue Click Install Unity Editor. We grant any necessary permissions, and it will start installing. When finished, we continue. Great, it's done. And I suppose you had to accept some permission, which is completely normal. And now we have it installed. Now, we will need to make some small configurations depending on each case. First of all, we go to Installations, and here we have the version we installed, along with the platforms for which we can later build the applications we develop. In this case, WebGL and Windows are installed by default. In my case, these are totally sufficient, but if you want more, we go to the gear icon, Add Modules. And here we will need to install Microsoft Visual Studio since it will be what we use later to program the games we want to develop. And then normally, you may want to build applications for other platforms like Android, Mac, or iOS. In that case, we simply add the modules we need. In my case, I am only going to install Microsoft Visual Studio because that is what we definitely need if we want to program. We click Continue. We check the option that we have read and accept the terms, and we install. And we wait again for the Visual Studio module to install. During the installation, this window will open. And simply what we have to do is click Continue. We wait for it to finish installing. Next, Visual Studio will also ask us to install the modules we will need. In our case, although there are many, what we will want is the .NET library, as it includes the C# language, which is what we will use to program our applications and games within Unity. And additionally, the Unity module obviously will also be useful. Everything else, as I said, is not necessary. Maybe in your case, if you want to program with C++, it would be useful to add that module, but in our case, no. So we click Install. Now we wait, and when it installs, we continue. Great! And nearing the end of the installation, it will ask us to log in with a Microsoft or GitHub account or create one. If we don't have an account, we create one, and I recommend it be a Microsoft account. And simply, once we have it, we click Log In. In most cases, this will ask us to link our already active Microsoft account. We accept, continue, and finally, it will ask us to log in with our credentials. I will log in, and then we continue. And finally, once logged in, Visual Studio 2022 will open, which we will later use to program anything within the engine. Now we simply close everything since we don't need anything else from this, and we return to Unity Hub. All right, now we have Visual Studio installed, and we have installed the latest version of Unity. To finish testing everything and get everything ready, let's create a new project. In my case, I will use the one I already had, which I have already mentioned, Speed Rivals. We go to the Projects section. In your case, it's clear you will want to create a new project. So you click on New Project, and here I recommend choosing Universal, as it is the most optimized version and looks quite good. Now you simply choose what you want, whether you prefer 2 dimensions or 3. Give it a name. Choose the path where you want to save it. These options can be disabled as they are not relevant to us right now. And finally, choose your organization. Once done, create the project and it will open. In my case, as I have already said, I am going to add one that I already have, saved on the disk. We open it. And in this case, I had it in a previous version, which is good for me to explain that to fix it, we can simply choose the new version with which we want to open the project. We select it, and in this case, we mark the current platform, since we have Windows, and that's what I was developing for. And we select that it opens in this version. We change the version. And now we wait for it to finish everything it needs to do. Okay, and finally, here we are in the Speed Rivals project. And as you can see below, these you see are scripts, which we will now open to check that everything works correctly. But before that, let's check that Visual Studio is configured. And indeed, if we go to this tab by accessing through Edit Preferences, and this tab will open. In External Tools, which is this small tab in this window, we will see that in the script editor, we have Visual Studio already configured and set to always be used by default. All thanks to installing it with Unity and all the modules being well installed, which also ensures that we have IntelliSense and everything perfect so that we can program without any issues. Now to check it finally, we're going to open one of the scripts. For example, this one called Cam Selector. We wait for it to open. It will ask us to allow some action, so we grant the permissions. All right, and here what you'll have to do is wait a bit, because at first it will probably take longer than usual to open, although later it will take less time, and IntelliSense might not work immediately either. Just wait, be patient, because everything is perfectly configured and will work in a while. When you see that this section, for example, is white, it means that everything is okay and that IntelliSense is already working. And to test it 100%, we are going to type GameObject. And as you can see, it gives me all the information about what I might want to write, displaying it below, and what I actually wanted to write, which was GameObject. And simply, we press Enter and we have it. This is super useful when programming and absolutely necessary if we don't want to go crazy. Well, that would be all. I hope you liked it and found it easy to follow. Let's end the video by running the project so you can see its most initial state. And the thing is, the game is currently in pre-alpha, so don't expect a final result. I intend to release this project before the end of the year, although its release date depends on when the game is perfect. Right now, I am programming this car controller, trying to achieve a good result in cornering. And even if you go over speed, the car derails as it should, which is quite entertaining. And well, if you liked the video, subscribe and give it a like. And if you really want to support me, it would be great if you added this game to your wish list. You would help me a lot, and I would truly appreciate it. Having said all this, I say goodbye to you and see you in the next video. Ciao.